So here are two that are basically like a vintage space theme. And it was really fun to create something that had to do with space but also had vintage stuff. And this one has, it's 4x6. It's got all kinds of pages and little bits. And there's paper from math books, and there's stamps, and a little packet of space ephemera, and then a vintage Popular Mechanics magazine that I used parts of. I think I have it right here actually, but so there's lots of paper, pockets, and then there was this really neat old book that had airplanes, vintage airplanes. It was from I want to say 46 or something, and then these little cards that have information on the back tucked in, some vintage envelopes, and some really fun clips. Little key. And then this really fun paper that I think is a 6x6 pad, and some old books on space that I cut apart, going to the moon and stuff. So just a variety of papers and a variety of images. Love that one. Lots of stamps. And an airplane and a key. And that's this little one. And then this bigger one is super big. I'm going to move the camera a little bit. And I think this is a full, like, it's kind of a monster. I think there's 12 signatures, and there's just a lot of, same variety of papers in there. I guess they kind of go together. And I have the Popular Mechanics book. I'm gonna reach for that. And oops. And it's this one from 1952. So a lot of papers from that. And then again, I had this really neat space book, and used the papers from there. And then there's this great vintage math book that I've had that has equations and images and a variety of different papers and books that are more engineering, and also an atlas that I cut apart. And I have a really large ledger that I used blank pages from, and a lot of maps as well. I think I've gotten 2 pages in here. And then again, lots of stamps. And the book actually, on the front, it's this chiyogami. Oh wait, I forget the name of the Japanese paper. But it's that you can see the gold is really shiny on it. And the back, however, is some material, and which I've used a little bit of. Whoops, lost my page. on the inside, wherever that is. We'll get to it. There it is. And so lots and lots of pages. I think this, I don't know if there's like 400 pages in here. Each signature has 40 pages. So there's just a lot in here, and there's a variety of stuff in here. But this is an envelope. There's 2 envelopes in here. Copy paper, all kinds of books, book images, vintage books and papers, and some sewing. And then this is like, I guess, some ideas that didn't work. Back to the egg. So some of the books that I used pages out of were sort of history of going to space and just a variety of things. So it's a little bit of craziness. And then this vintage airplane book, which I love. The paper is very flat, but it must be like a lithographed kind of images. So I love the quality of those, and I really wanted to include them, even though it's airplanes, but I thought it lended itself to sort of the whole process of going to space. So there's just lots and lots and lots of pages to go through. And there's ephemera in here, a mix of things. And then also colorful, just some color paper that I thought just added some color throughout. I'm gonna go fast. It's sort of a thematic, and so I tried to use some of the similar pages like throughout. So, and then these are little sewn pockets that have some things stuffed in there. And so those can be taken out and kind of tucked in. So there's several of those. But there's some really neat, it's basically like a story, and I guess that's what I found really interesting about this popcorn production line supply. So there's like this whole idea of engineering and math and space and flying, elastic curve, and just concepts, that I thought were really interesting. Like, I don't know, to me it all went together in a really interesting way. Sort of a fun, various approaches and concepts. But ultimately we got to space, so. And I love that. So like airplane and rocket design, and then how that connects to just math and different kinds of design. So this is like, this book has an early Glenn Curtis plane. And then as well, there's the Wright brothers' first flight. And so it's a whole story. And of course, who knows where we're headed. So there's more coming. It's a little girl, and a switchboard. And plenty of room for writing and tucking some other things in. Similar paper as the back of this book. So actually, doesn't show here because I had to cut it, but it's a beautiful stamp. I'll be right there, Pumpkin.
Mom,
And here's another pocket. Some more papers in there. Oops. Holding on to it without knowing. It's copy paper, lined paper, tracing paper, vintage airmail envelopes, and I just love the bright touches of color. And pattern paper, different magazines, different math books. This paper tucked in for writing.